Hey you guys, I'm back with Make Happen Sister podcast. I'm your host, Dominique Murray, and every week I will bring you a Make Happen Sister member to come on and discuss their business, their ventures, and then we'll be tackling a topic that we as female entrepreneurs face. And so this week we're going to be diving into another topic here at the beautiful Lavino Wine Bar. We are in Warner Robins, Georgia. You guys, please come check them out. It's amazing. It's a little early for wine, but we will have some later on this afternoon. But in the chair today we have Miss Tamika Head. If you want to go ahead and kind of give us your elevator pitch.
So my name is Tamika Head. My company, I have two companies. I have a company which is Pink Stem, and Pink Stem is my nonprofit that I started back in 2011, 2012. And it started from, I was in class to work on my specialist degree, and they told us to choose a topic that was close to our heart. So at the time I was a science teacher, and I had students that I noticed that weren't choosing certain activities that I wanted to do, like robotics, and especially girls and minorities of color. And so I chose that topic as my research topic for my courses. And as it became into an actual action research project, I created Pink Stem from that. And so that's how it was started. And by my daughter, who is off camera, Jasmine, my oldest daughter, I wanted to get her more into STEM, and I wanted her to learn different careers. And she still chose psychology, which is not STEM, but I still tell her there's all different types of ways that you can be involved. But that was how Pink STEM started.
Okay.
And as it progressed, I turned it into a government for-profit arm, because a lot of my college students were graduating from Georgia Tech. I have Vanderbilt graduates, University of Florida, graduates from all over, and I wanted to help them gain employment. So that was when the workforce development started in 2014, and that's how I got started.
Okay, and so I know you had two businesses, so that's the workforce development, or is there
Pink Engineering.
Pink Engineering? Okay, and then is Pink Engineering is it PEEC?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's PEEC, and it's Pink Engineering Educational Consultants.
Okay.
And so that derived from when I was trying to understand the difference between federal versus doing federal grants, federal proposals. I started going to courses. Back then it was called the Georgia GTPAC, and it's held out of Georgia Tech, but they have offices here in Warner Robins. And so around 2013, 2014, I started going to classes to learn more about how to turn my business into a federal business. And so now Georgia PTAC is called Georgia Apex, and it's all free. They have free courses. They usually have classes that you can take online as well as in person. Before the pandemic, we did a lot of in person, but I know they have online as well. And when I started to learn more about the process, that was when I was told if I wanted to go after government contracts, I needed a for-profit. I had to separate my two businesses, and that was when I separated them into two separate businesses.
Okay. And so Pink Engineering, the consulting, what exactly do you do in that one?
So with my consulting business, I do a lot of educational DE&I training courses for the government. I do some staffing with other partners, and with our staffing, I lean more on my military background. And in the military, I was a respiratory therapist as well as an air traffic controller. So for some of the contracts that I go after with partners, it mainly focuses on my either educational training side or some of the aviation contracts or some of the medical staffing contracts I see.
And were you Air Force?
I was, yes.
Yes. And so going back to Pink Stem, to the nonprofit, what do you do in more detail in terms of that with the girls?
So in 2012 when we started, like I said, my daughter, she was little at the time, so it was mainly about mentorship and bringing in other influencers from STEM so our girls could just learn from them. And so we had a lot of courses in computer programming, robotics. We had 3D printing. We partnered with Girl Scouts at the time, who also had the STEM initiative. So we received a lot of supplies, and at the time when my daughter started to grow up and some of the students wanted to pursue other things, especially middle school age, then we started to pivot more on, let's work on this workforce development side. So in 2012, Pink STEM was started. 2014, Pink Engineering was started. But since Pink STEM was still going, so I kind of had to wear two hats.
Yeah.
And bringing in staff and trying to, hire double size is difficult when you have so many great ideas, but you have to really just stay organized, which is difficult because I'm more of the creative side. So when you're a creative, it's kind of hard for you to stay focused on one thing, stay in your lane, because it's like, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. But one thing that helped me when it comes back to focusing on what I needed to do with Pink STEM versus Pink Engineering was come up with that actionable strategic plan. And when I first started, a lot of people say, go get a business plan. And when you get a business plan, you can hire someone to do it. However, it really is best for you to do your own business plan, because you need to know what your pivots are. You need to know where your SWOT analysis is. You need to know what the market is saying about your business. Is it worth me putting in so much of my money into my business? Because essentially a lot of people put in their own personal money to start their businesses. And you have to make sure, if your plan is not actionable and it's not strategic, then you won't have clear goals, and it's hard to actually hit those goals.
True. Very true. Very true. Some information that we all need. So between the two, are they both still, you're doing both now?
Yes. I am doing both. So the way Pink STEM started, I actually was, I really just wanted to take the girls out, and I was working in Macon as a teacher, and so I would drive the students on Saturdays to Georgia Tech, to Spelman College, to Clark Atlanta, and we would do activities with the college students in Atlanta. And some of my students back in 2011, 2012, they'd never been outside of Macon. So it really was just me trying to give them exposure, and it really wasn't a business aspiration of mine. But then when I was looking for, okay, we need funding, we need support, because I was purchasing the van I was paying for the rental van, and things like that were coming out of my pocket. So I was like, okay, I need support. And sometimes the parents can't support that much. So that was when everyone was telling me, especially some of my educator friends were saying that you should go at the grants. So in order for me to go at the grants, what do I need? And then it's time to, that's how the nonprofit came around. And so my action research plan from college kind of turned into, okay, this needs to become a business. Since I already have the research done, I have all of that, I need to actually make this a solid business. And so because of my aviation background as an air traffic controller, I was approached by Fulton County back in 2013 to teach their aviation courses at their, they had a cultural arts center. And so that was my first government contract. I didn't know what I was doing. It was brand new. All I knew is I wanted to teach. And so all I did was register my business with the Fulton County. It was a county position. Gave them my W-9, and I was a government contractor. So it's a lot different than what people think is so difficult with being a government contractor. It's really deciding, do you want to do state, local, municipalities? Do you want to do federal? You just have to decide based on your niche and your skills, what do you want to do? Who do you want to serve? Who's your buyer? So that's how it came from me.
Okay, and we're actually going to talk more about government contracts, because I know some of it is, hopefully you can like kind of demystify it, because people hear government contracts and like, oh, that's too much work involved in doing that, and it sounds like it might not be as much work. Well, everything's work, but as much red tape to cut through. But going back a little bit to now, so you were in the Air Force, and then you became a science teacher. How did that happen? Yeah, because it seems like you do have a love for STEM. So
yes,
how did that happen?
So going back to why I even chose air traffic control and aviation, in school, I knew I wanted to go into the Air Force and follow my dad's footsteps. So I knew that was what I wanted to do. So I signed up at 17. And then my entire senior year, I already knew that I would go to MEPS as soon as I graduated. So I did college courses through, I guess it wasn't dual enrollment back when I was in school, but we did like activities with the colleges, and I knew if I wanted to go to college, certain colleges I wanted to go to, but the Air Force was like top on my list, and so I didn't deviate from that plan. And when I took the ASVAB, I scored really high in air traffic control. I scored high in medical, and I scored high in admin. So when I spoke to one of my friends in school, he was a young pilot. And he was one of the first black pilots to get his pilot's license. He went to Canada because he was so young, and they wouldn't give it to him here in the United States. So he took me to the air traffic control tower, and he said, this is what you would be doing. And when I went in and saw the airplanes and saw that, I was like, me? Yeah, as a 17-year-old, I can go into this. And then it did help. They were paying a $7,000 bonus. So I was like, sign me up, and went into aviation, and it was difficult. And I tell you, I would just call my mother. I would cry. I would say, Mom, I can't do this. And she said, if somebody before you can do it, you can do it. Just keep going. And it was just very stressful. I think that's where I learned that I needed to find a mentor. I needed someone I can decompress with, because my peers didn't always look like me. And so finding someone to get through school, I leaned on my mother a lot. And then when I graduated from air traffic control school, it's even harder because you still have to continue to test. People think once you're in and you're done. That's not the case. You continue to test. Even in the Air Force, they think, oh, you go through and you take your test and you're done. No, to make rank, you continue to test. So it's nothing but testing, and I don't consider myself a strong tester. I understand the information, I can apply it, but it's like I freeze when it comes to taking a test. And so it has nothing to do with my aptitude. It's just that I don't enjoy it, and I don't do well to my understanding. So taking all of that information, that was when I said, okay, aviation is for me. But then I started to have migraines, and I said, you know what? I can either push through this, because they were going to say just push through it and stay air traffic, or I could just try something different. And at that time, I think, I was a trainer as an air traffic controller. And so I was teaching back then, even as an air traffic controller. I said, well, I'll just go ahead and try something different. So I was an admin assistant to the commanders, to 2 company commanders for a year. And then I finally cross-trained into respiratory therapy. And see, cardiopulmonary, you do a mixture of learning about the heart, learning about the lungs, but it's all the medical, and you have neonatal, pediatric. So working with all of that, I kind of was in what I thought I wanted to do anyway, of working with on the medical side. And then my 3 years came, and they asked me to come do my second deployment. My first deployment, I was younger, and they were sending us to UAE. And I gave that one to someone else because I didn't want to go. I was just afraid.
Really?
Everyone said, they were like, go to the
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. And so I gave it to another airman, and I didn't go.
Man,
but this second one was to Afghanistan. And at that time, I had a 1-year-old daughter. And my husband at the time, he had just got stationed in Korea for a year. So I knew if he went to Korea for a year, if I went to Afghanistan for 1, maybe 2 years, depending on how long, then, I know I would have to send my child to my mother. So I said, well, it's time to make a different decision. I think I'm going to go ahead and get out. And that was when I said, what's next? And that's how becoming a teacher. I was approached I was putting my daughter in a private pre-K for pre-K 3. And they said, hey, would you like to be a teacher here? And it was like, me? And they were like, yes, we need algebra teacher. We need chemistry teacher.
For pre-K?
Yeah, no. At the school. No, at the school, at the high school, because they were pre-K through high school. Okay. And I was like, me? Algebra? I don't know. But I agreed to it. And then I was like, I like this. I'm really good at it. And so that's kind of how I went from all the things I already had to starting to teach. It was really because of my daughter's teacher and her principal. They approached me.
And you were teaching, in the Air Force.
I was, and I just never put 2 and 2 together. I was just doing it. And so, and then when I became a teacher, I learned that it's best to go ahead and get certified. And so that was when I went after my certification, which is different. You do the TAP program, the Georgia TAP program. So I went through a different type of certification because I already had my bachelor's degree when I was in the Air Force. And so you have to go through just another certification program. And so teaching and going back and forth from high school, teaching chemistry, algebra, and then going back to middle school, I had to find out what is my niche in teaching. And I found out I like younger students versus the older students. So that's kind of my journey of why I went from something that just, I almost thought they weren't connected, but they really are. And it's just like, even in my physics, when I teach my physics students, same concepts that I had as an air traffic controller in aviation, I teach. So, and I can pull from those same concepts. So I didn't think they were all connected, but they actually are.
I love that, how it kind of went full circle for you.
It really did.
Really nice. With that, so I know you mentioned kind of earlier in the beginning, kind of what brought about the pink STEM was, seeing that a lot of your students kind of were steering clear of the STEM industry. Why do you think that happens for, women, for minorities of color? Like, why do you think we get nervous about those subjects?
Well, I can speak from my experience. When you don't see many people that look like you, even today I can still be in the room and I'm the only black female, sometimes female. And even when I'm in the room, it's difficult if you don't have the strength within yourself. And it's easier for you to back down and easier for you to just, I don't have to do this. I don't want to do this. So if you want to push and move the needle, because we know that it's bigger than us, that's the perseverance that has to stay within you to continue like these difficult careers where we're not really always seen in the room. And that was one of the reasons why I decided that I wanted to stay in STEM and why I wanted to push the mark and push this nonprofit part of things is because I was still noticing in some rooms I am still the only one. So
that has to be challenging, right? And I know, at least speaking about gender and stuff and being women, I feel like that a lot of times we back down because we sometimes intimidate people when we're in those positions. It's like we almost feel like we can't do it, and it's a weird, but
I agree.
Absolutely. I love how you're, we want to, push it and open it up for all the girls coming up. Like, those are things we're going to have to kind of accept those challenges and stay and do those things. But so kind of pivoting onto the government contracts and stuff. I read an article, I think it was from 19th News where it was talking about, and it was saying that overall women entrepreneurs kind of feel left out of the conversation when it comes to government funding and government contracts. And they feel like they don't have those options. How has that, because I know that's what you do, how has that been for you? Was it something you kind of just had to go after? I know you talked about that first contract that you got. Has it been difficult? Are they there for us? We just got to know where to look.
Well, yes, you have to know where to look. And it's really about networking. And that's why I love your organization, because it's really about who you know, someone just sharing opportunities and telling each other. Because as women, I can say for myself, we have the imposter syndrome where we think that we're not good enough, or we're portraying someone who we really aren't, but we are good enough. We can do this. We just have to help each other and share. And so that was kind of how I took my pink engineering and started to do a little bit of consulting. And I recently consulted this past year with City of East Point, one of the municipalities in Atlanta. And I taught them, women, especially women of color, the basics of government contracting, what's needed in order to get those contracts. And it's just basically having that, I don't know if you wanted to move into that, but
yes.
It's basically just having that strategic plan. Once you know what your niche is, then you need to register. We have to have our businesses pre-qualified. And that's where a lot of us fail. We're not pre-qualified. And to be pre-qualified, you got to have your accounting in order. You got to have your attorney. You have to have, some places require your business license. And with your business license, you already fill out like your NAICS code or your NGIP codes. And some people don't understand or know what that is. So there's like a free database where you can just put in, I'm a cosmetologist. Yeah. And cosmetologists will tell you these are your codes. When you find out where your codes are, look at other codes that are close to what you're doing. Because maybe you don't want to do government contracting as a cosmetologist, but maybe you want to sell hair products to the government. Or maybe you want to sell certain products that, because the government can't go to Walmart and buy. They have to buy from us. And so they may use a credit card, or they may use where you have to go through their system. But it's first you finding out what are you good at and what do you want to sell to the government. Then you have to decide which one do you want to sell to. Do you want to sell to the state? Do you want to sell to the city? Do you want to sell federal? And so if you decide that you want to do city municipalities, then which city municipality do you want to sell to? If you want to sell to the city of Warner Robins, you go on their website. First thing you do is how to do business with the city of Warner Robins. Now, since it's becoming more popular, most cities, most counties, they all have webinars and informational sessions on how to register with our city, how to register with our county, or how to register with the federal, depends on which agency. So I had to decide based on, if I'm going after certain contracts, what can Tamika mostly qualify for? And you have to do based on your past performance. When they always ask about past performance, a lot of people say, I don't have past performance. Yes, you do. You've worked somewhere, you've done something, you have it. It's about how you package your past performance. So it's about taking everything that you've done on your resume and now making that become experience in your business. And so once I was able to kind of relay that message to people that I've consulted with, it started to click that I can do business with the government. Like if you want to go federal, then you need to know what agency. Will it be GSA? Will it be the Department of Defense? Will it be DOE? Who do you want to sell to? And that's mainly the main thing I tell everyone. Just know your why and know who, and then get pre-qualified.
And I love that you brought so many different examples of types of government, because I know, at least for me, when I think government contracts, I immediately think military. And so I'm like, well, I don't sell weapons, I don't sell hardware, I don't sell, and so I think a lot of us don't realize just the vast, like you said, like GSA, there's so many organizations, so many types of government. With that, kind of going back to elementary style of it all. So going back to exactly what a government contract is, for people who are still kind of like, okay, so is this just you're selling something and they can only buy it from you? Like, what exactly is that government contract?
So the best way to say that is the government has needs. Not only do they have to staff, they also have to procure products, things like that. And so what you would do is you as a contractor, you're looking to sell your product to someone who needs to buy it. Now that could be just like if you have a store and you're selling your product to a consumer, it's the same thing, except for you're now doing business to business or business to government. So you still have a product or you still have a service, but you're now selling it to this agency. So I'll use cosmetology that I've just worked with one of my clients. So Grady Hospital was looking to bring in, they were looking to bring in barbers to cut hair. And so she was a cosmetologist, so she just asked someone, a friend, well, what about cosmetology? If they have barbers that are cutting hair, what about someone to do the, and they said, I'll go ahead and put that contract in. Now you have it, and it's just that simple sometimes. It can be. Send over your W-9, and if you don't have a W-9, it's free online, something that you can get. If you don't know how to fill it out, just call and ask. How do I fill it out? What do I need to do? You have to have your EIN number, but if you already are a business, you'll have your EIN number. If not, it'll take you a few minutes to get it online, and then make sure you have everything with the Secretary of State. That doesn't take very long to do, and it's very relatively cheap. And so it's just mainly about, I'm sorry, I kind of got off tangent.
What is a government contract?
Yeah, sorry. So, because I'll go all over. So, what is a government contract? Okay, so just mainly just knowing that a government contract is the government is buying and you're selling. What product or what service are you selling to the government?
Okay. Okay, and so with that, you spoke about cosmetology. What are some other industries that can get into this that we don't typically think of, right? That you've seen.
It's every industry. Yes, and I think cosmetology is one that I talk about because most people don't think.
Yeah.
You would never think that, but anything from textiles, anything from automotive, we do a lot of that. Like my husband and I. If you, let's say, any business that you can think of, you can maybe be a consultant. If you're into renewable energy, possibly you would be a consultant on a project. That's still something that they would buy. There's so many industries. I really can't.
I know that's a loaded question, but I think that it really, like, you're kind of like opening it, because I know most of us just don't think of government contracts in that sense. So we talked about, you say you need your W-9, you need to make sure you have your E&I, like all the paperwork filing. What is that, once all that's in, what does that kind of onboarding process look like?
So depending on what you're applying for as well. So let's say let's go to the Georgia registry.
Okay.
So like, since we're here in Georgia, if you go to the Georgia registry and just register with the state of Georgia, almost every municipality, almost every city, they all post it at one registry. And so you'll get an email that will tell you, and it's usually about 1,000, but you can take that list and put it just to your NAICS code, which is your niche. So if your niche is postal services, if you're a post office and you just want to do postal services, you just put in your code, and then that's what will come to your email. And then you can decide which ones you want to go after. And that's why I say it's so easy to go all over the place. But if you come in with a strategy of phase 1 or quarter 1, I want to go after this, quarter 2, I can expand to that, it's easier to focus and, have a clear path.
Okay. Do you do like webinars and stuff on this?
I have not yet. And the reason why is because when I did the city of East Point, we had a cohort come in, and then we were ready for the next cohort, and it takes so much time and preparation and so much time after I do a series with a cohort, then I have clients because they want to have me come in and help them get their business in order. And so let's say for the last cohort, I think I had about 20 clients that came in, and that was just from, I think we did a 6-week cohort. Then they came in, and then I had 20 businesses that I was responsible for to try to help them get pre-qualified to do business with the government. And so, that takes me away from bidding on contracts, because I can be honest, I've written my own proposals, but I've also paid other people to support me. And when you write your own proposals, whether it's a grant proposal or a proposal for the government, it's a lot of work. It takes time. You have to have a team in place to help you, because I may not dot this I, but you would catch the I for me. And that one undotted I
mess up the whole thing,
would make me unqualified. Right. So that's why, you have to have a team, and your team may start off as family and friends, people who really believe in you and support you. And then as you grow and you're able to hire people to support you, then you can kind of push out more and you're able to scale. So that's why I have not done webinars as of right now. In the future, possibly, yes.
Because I feel like it is so much information to grasp, and really but that's why you have Pink Engineering to really kind of get through it completely and make sure that you're not missing any steps. So, but you do offer, you look at businesses to see if they're ready for that step as well.
So I have, but what I normally do now is what I tell everyone is use your free resources first. Because if I bring you in as a client and you have an idea, I encourage that, but I would send you to one of my partners first that would at least get you qualified, because we need to maximize our time together. Once you're pre-qualified, then I would bring you back to me, and then I would give you a strategic plan for the next year on A, B, and C. And it's worked well for me. I still have my same clients. They still call me and go. And it's good to have a plan. I can support you with that plan. And if you come to me with just the idea, I'll still send you out to the right people, and I'll bring you back when you get to the point for me. And then once I have you pre-qualified to where I say you're ready, then I'll send you out to another partner.
Okay. Do you think with all of the clients that you had, do you see now, like, or do you just do women of color and minorities, or will you take any clients?
Well, I have a few men, but it's no specifications. It's just, you know, whomever signed up to have me consult. But the business that we were doing with the city of East Point, it was mainly women and men of color that were in there.
So you are seeing more, but with the contracts, that does not necessarily mean that they're doing STEM stuff. So actually, cut that part out.
Which part?
Oh, because I was connecting, but then I was like, wait a minute, no, because I went to government contracts, but then when I asked that question, I was thinking more of like people in the STEM industry, but that's not connected.
So just cut out the last part you said.
Yes.
As far as,
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Just pick right. Okay. So I know you mentioned the Georgia Registry. What are some other places that people can look for contracts?
So I would say maybe in your city. Start local, and that's where I usually tell everyone. Like one of my clients, she's in Union City, so I let her know she needs to be in touch with her economic developer. What contracts are they putting out now, or what contracts are available? It's free to go onto the website and look what's available, and it may be something there that you can do right now. And so I always tell everyone to look at what's closest to you, which is your city. And then you can look at to your state, what's available in your state versus or your county. After you've gone on, then you want to start to dive into federal. When you go into federal, it is a strenuous process. And even I lean on mentors with federal because it is so much. And I have not just one, I have multiple mentors depending on what industry I'm pulling into that have been doing this. And they supersede where I want to be. So, and it's very difficult to find mentors, I will say that. But the best way to find them is through this networking. And so when you meet with people, you be honest about where you are in the process. I'm hungry for it. I'm excited. I want to be there. What can I do to support your company? And they'll just bring you in under their wing, and they'll help you go along the way. So that's kind of how
And I love that you mentioned that last part, what can you do to support their company? Because I know when looking for mentors and things like that, like it is a mutual relationship, right? Like it's not just pour into me, like there has to be that relationship there to where you're helping them as well. So that's important. For people that are wanting to possibly work with you or that have more questions, I know you're not doing webinars yet, but how can they get in contact with you?
So I do have I have a wonderful team of young ladies, Amanda and Ivana, that help me with my calendar. And so I usually say just schedule an appointment on my calendar. And on my website, I have all my pricing for initial consults and things of that nature. And even if you just have an idea, you just let me know what your ideas are. We sign our NDA, so I don't share all your thoughts. So I tell everyone, always protect yourself. And so we sign our confidentiality agreement, and then I just learn more about what you want, and then I guide you, and the process is based on where you are. And if I see that you're at a place where you don't need to go back to the pre-qualification, then I can start to set you up with whatever your desires are.
Okay. Well, that is all I have. Did you have anything else that you wanted to go over today? I know it's a lot with government contracts.
No, just basically I really want everyone to know that it is about having this clear and concise plan. That's what's most important. And once you have this strategic plan based on those 4 quarters, the government, depending on if you do work with the federal government, like right now we're in the 4th quarter. So this is very important time. This is where all the contracts are coming out. Yeah, the end of the fiscal
Oh,
year.
I remember those days.
You know how it is. And so, like, just having a clear plan, a clear strategic plan, and to be careful about consultants that you choose as well. I like to refer to a lot of free options because I use a lot of free options. So I usually refer people out to what's free because they have all the resources. Is already there. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, and I'm not going to charge you for something that all you have to do is just click on a button and get for free. I don't agree with that. So I definitely say that, even if you just want me to look in and tell you what your next steps are, I'm really good at that part. And I can tell you what your next steps are, and I can refer you if you're already past where I would take you. Or if you're not at the point where you can even come in to discuss with me, I'll refer you out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tamika. I really enjoyed this. And again, if you guys want to reach out to her, you guys can get on her calendar. And there's the PEC website as well, right?
Yes, the Pink Engineering.
And we'll put all of that in the show notes. But that is all the time we have for today. So check back with us next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.